What's up, guys? I am outside in the garden because I received this package yesterday. I am going to be building this gazebo right here. This is netting, and I'm really excited about the netting because they had ones without netting, and I specifically wanted the netting for in the height of summer to protect from the mosquitoes. And so I was just taking everything out of the box. I still have the netting is over there, and this is for the top. But I just pulled out all of the poles. I think these are the stakes to hold them into the ground. And I was just reading the instructions, making sure I had all of the pieces. I think Nehemiah's going to help me. Nehemiah, are you going to help me put the gazebo together? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So we have about an hour to spare before we have to go pick up my son. And so I am going to, it said that it needed 2 people. I don't know if a child counts, but I'll be happy to have her help. And then we'll go pick up my son. And if there's anything else that we have to do, then maybe he'll have to help me. If like we have to put the netting or the roof on top and we're too short because he's way taller than us. So this is nice. They have the bags labeled. So that's number 4, number 3, and then I think this is number 1. And on here it tells you you need 8 number 3s, which is this bag right here, and it already has 8 in it. And then you need 4 number 4s, and there's already 4 in there. And then 4 number 1s, and there's already 4 number 1s in here. So that's the first thing, and then we need these snaps right here, 4 of these snaps right here, and somehow we have to snap them all together. So we're gonna figure this out. I like looking at pictures, so they don't really have words, they just showing you click 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 my kind of instructions. This was actually really easy to put together. I actually moved the pieces over to this right side of the garden because it was shaded, and I had the sweatshirt on and I didn't want to take it off because I knew I was going to be driving and get cold again. So I just moved everything to this right side to be in the shade. But once we got everything situated and put together, I realized that I was going to have to continue setting this up on the left side, which is the side that it will be permanently sitting at. And so we end up transferring it over. As soon as we put this together, which I said it was really easy to put together, but as soon as we put it together, it was time to go, and I was rushing, and I completely forgot that maybe I should stake this into the ground. And of course you can see the wind picked up as soon as we put the top on, and that happened to us when we was building the hoop house as well. The cattle panel hoop house, we put the as soon as it was time to put the plastic on, all of a sudden it got really windy. So that is what happened with this. It was as soon as we got the cover on, it started getting really windy, and as soon as we got everything strapped and finalized, I was time to go pick up my son, and I forgot that I didn't nail this into the ground, and the wind picked up and blew it across the fence. And so we had to catch it. I had to call my daughters to help me lift it back up into the garden. You can kind of see where the wind is picking up there. I have about 9 more minutes before I have to leave, but we are up to putting on the netting, and I want to show you. These are like little rods, hanger rods, curtain rods that you would use for like your shower curtain and stuff, and it's so cute. Put them onto these little spots right here, going all the way across, and then you clip it to the inside, and that's how it makes the netting. So that's super cool. I like also how this can also, like, because it is a thinner material, but you can easily change this out if you wanted to with a better quality one. But I'm so excited for this. So it is a new day. It's actually been probably 2 or 3 days since we started this gazebo project. I came out here to get it all finished up, but it looks like my daughter went ahead and stapled in the last staples to hold everything in place. I'll turn it around and show you. So the last thing was just to tie these up here and then staple them into the ground on 2 on each corner, and it looks like she has done so on every side. So I would say this is actually complete, and let me step back. It looks so good. I'm so excited for this when the summertime comes and I can close this in and get away from the sun. If you are interested in this specific gazebo or anything else that Costway offers, I will have a 15% off discount code site-wide in the description box. Okay, on another note, so I just came out here and was looking around. I think, so my son went ahead and put down some more landscape fabric, and I would say we're probably about 95% done as far as landscape. The last area that he did was just this area right here. You can see the new landscape fabric right here, down this strip, and did that strip all the way across here, and so it looks really good. The things that I am considering is, so these two beds are my asparagus beds, but I'm wondering if I should, after this season, maybe dig up the asparagus and then end up putting them in the orchard area, because I do have two 2x8 Forever Garden beds in there, and wondering if I should use them for asparagus. The reason being is because I'm wondering if I should put all my perennial plants over in the orchard area, because I do want to put the strawberries over there. And then I can also use this whole log raised bed section area could all be used for tomatoes every year. And so that is my thought process behind it. And I know I'm probably going to get somebody that says that I shouldn't plant my tomatoes in the same spot every year, but I'm going to. So and then I could leave the cattle panels up full time, and then I would have 8 full log raised beds instead of thinking about where else I could plant tomatoes. I could plant all 8 log raised beds with tomatoes and have the trellises here permanently, like all the time, and not have to worry about changing them. And then I could use just like the log raised bed area for all of my other plants. Still debating. I wouldn't do that now. Reason being is because that would require a lot of work on my part right now in order to dig out these trenches and then transplant them. Especially, I think that it's almost time for this asparagus to come out of dormancy, and so I don't want to like disturb any chances of. I was just checking to see if I saw any asparagus popping up. I don't, but I don't want to disturb any chances of the asparagus not coming up or coming up late or whatever this season, but I'm still debating on it. I know it would take a lot of work in order to do that. It's a thought though. Another area that I'm reconsidering is this area right here. When we first moved here, I dug a trench, and you can kind of see where I do have some that's not weeds popping up, and I planted a bunch of daffodils here, but they have not come up this whole time. I planted some other perennials here as well, but they haven't come up, and it's just gotten overtaken by weeds. And so what I'm considering is putting garden beds back here, and so that way, like the big Forever Garden beds, so I could lay down the landscape fabric up here, and then weeds wouldn't be growing in the bed. So debating on that. Still, I was just thinking about it. I'm like, okay, this is my second year gardening and in this specific area, and so I'm still just thinking about and revamping the more that I garden in this area, of what things I want to change. And so those are things that I'm worried about specifically doing this year or this instant. Another thing that I was thinking about and looking at was this in-ground area right here, because I do want to put the landscape rocks, and so I'm just wondering of how to make this area more contained. And so I thought about either putting cinder blocks around it or putting big boulder blocks to hold this in place, also so that I could add more soil, and because it does look like this garlic needs fertilizing, and so I want to get some root fertilizer, not one high in nitrogen. The only ones I have is high in nitrogen. But I want to get one that has phosphorus, so probably bone meal and blood meal here. But I also want to add more soil because the soil does look like it's gotten pretty flat. And then the last things are these forever garden beds that my kids have filled up for me, and now it's on me to basically fill them. I discussed and thought about it a lot, and one of the options is I could get a topsoil delivery delivered here. Last time I did that last year, I think it was about $500 or $300 for 10 yards. But then I would have to shovel it with my kids and then bring it over here. And so instead, I think I'm just going to get bagged topsoil, add the topsoil in first, and then put in bagged soil, potting mix, or compost on the top. But it's all going to be bagged just because of time's sake. I know it's going to be more expensive, but at this point, I don't have the time, and I know I won't have the time going forward in order to do many shovels that it would take to bring topsoil from over outside of the garden by the orchard, because that's where they would dump it, and then get it filled up into these beds. And so I'm just going to work on getting bagged topsoil little by little and filling it that way. While I was just processing the things that I want to change going forward in the garden, it just made me that much grateful that I decided to, as soon as we got here, work on building this garden, because the first year was basically just getting all the beds in here, and then now the second year that I've grown in here, one year, is kind of revamping and revisiting some things that I thought would work. Because like the log raised beds, for instance, at first I thought that it would be nice to grow my cut flowers in there and have different type of trellising, and then have my tomatoes. I actually wanted them to grow along this fence right here on the outside. But now that I've been gardening, I know that I actually want my tomatoes in the log raised beds, and that going along this fence, just because when goats are out and stuff like that, that they will definitely eat whatever is growing here. And so I'm just not sure on what I'm going to actually grow. And I'm still can grow tomatoes here and might change this, after gardening this year. But it's just making me realize that this going forward is just going to take time to really finalize what I would prefer in my garden, especially with this year. I'm going to add in more arch trellises and using the netting like in this in-ground area, and then just like making it more beautiful. I mean, I think it already looks great, and I thought it looked great last year, but just thinking, and I'm like, okay, I think it's actually going to take probably 3 years before I'm finally, like 3 seasons growing, um, until I'm finally like, okay, this is how I want to garden in this space going forward. Right now, this is only going to be my second summer gardening, and so I'm really excited and looking forward to gardening this year, and then changing, have a list of changing stuff over the winter and fall of next year. And then next year I might have more things that I learned, but gardening is just like a learning experience, and I'm so excited, so grateful to even have this garden and have this space to just sit here. I actually really like sitting on the ground. I would prefer it. That's why I didn't have that much seating in my garden last year, because I actually like to sit on the ground. I didn't last year because with the wood chips, they would like a lot last year, because with the wood chips they would poke me. I thought things were crawling on me because it would get stuck to like the bottom of my dress, and then like the ants would hide inside the wood chips, and so I didn't do a lot of sitting on the ground. But with this landscape fabric, it just feels so much cleaner. It just makes me my inside. It fulfills the need to sit down low and just look out at the garden. Soil is so expensive. I'm looking at some of these beds that I know at the end of the summer season, going into fall, that I topped off all of these beds, and I'm looking around at some of these beds and I'm like, wow, some of these beds are super low. And I remember watching a video, I think it was from Epic Gardening, who said that I forgot how much percent you lose of compost every season before it kind of just like you lose a lot of percent like the first few years, and then after a while it kind of just stays, and then you don't have to top it off as much. But some of these beds are like super low even though I put soil in them, and so I know definitely I'm going to have quite a few beds that I am topping off. These chickens have completely dumped out one of this garden bed, like all the soil. They have kicked out like majority of all the soil, so we're gonna have to move them onto a different bed and get this soil back into that bed. But like this was a bed that they were on, and for the most part most of the soil is in there, but you can see how low it is, and that's just because obviously there was compost in here, so that's continually to break down, and then the soil is softening underneath that was on here, and so this is going to need a good amount. I was looking here, this is where I had the spicy peppers at, and you can see summer savories kind of taking over, but like this needs a good amount of soil to top this off, and this is a bed that I did not top off. So I wonder with topping off that spicy pepper bed, I was expecting spicy peppers to reseed themselves and come back, but I wonder with topping off that bed with so much soil that it would need probably a good 2 to 3 inches will I see any spicy pepper sprouts this coming garden season. I mean, even though I planted all my spicy peppers, I just thought it would be cool to be able to see reseeded spicy peppers. Anyway, that was kind of like a blabber of just sharing my thought process on the garden and what I've been thinking through. And I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me. It's been on the short vlog and putting this gazebo together. I was supposed to be leaving in about 30 minutes, but I am not. So things change, plans change, and so I think I'm going to actually probably go out and see if I can find some fertilizer for my garlic, and then look at some pricing for like some of those big blocks to go around, or big rocks to go around the garlic, and yeah, just have a pretty relaxed weekend. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.